Well, I mean, it's not like tons of us didn't see this coming. Now, I want to say to start that anytime these sort of things happen, my heart always goes out to the people that are working at the studio that have lost their jobs. For as critical as I am about video games, or maybe you are, I don't like knowing that people are going out of work. Just because I might not like the product doesn't mean that I want people to be unemployed, even if I don't like some of the things that had gone on during the time that this game was being developed. I do find it a bit weird that people are taking victory laps and people are posting pictures of them laughing at Riot or laughing at people that enjoyed this game. I've been super critical of plenty of fighting games, but I find it just a little bit odd to be laughing at people that are losing their jobs. But anyway, Riot Games tweeted out saying, with a heavy heart, the Play 2XKO team shares an update about the future. Active development will end in December. The final content patch goes live in October. Servers stay online. In-game purchases made before August 20th will be refunded. And that post has obviously gone viral. 28.5 million views at the point of recording this video. I'm not celebrating that this game has gone down, but I said many months ago, I think 7 months ago, I did a live stream and I said that this game was destined to fail. And following that, the following day, I posted a video on my channel which was taking a clip of that live stream or a discussion that I had with Tom Brady, where he also broke down why this game would be failing. And we received plenty of comments like this, plenty of comments on our videos and live streams of people saying stuff like, I love it when someone explains why X or Y failed but doesn't provide any kind of reliable source, figures or quotes on said fail. This is full of assumptions and cliches. Now, yes, because we didn't have any proof that this was going to happen, of course we have to make a bunch of assumptions, but it's assumptions based on how the game was moving. It had gotten to the point of beyond reasonable doubt that I believed that the game was going to fail. And I've been saying this since the beginning, not because I wanted it to happen, but because it seemed very, very obvious. Now, before I go through this article, and I know that you guys have probably read it, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on this situation. The first thing that I've got to say about 2XKO is that that is one of the most god-awful names that I've ever seen for a fighting game, let alone a video game, ever. It's an awful name for a game. You've got this game that is coming off the back of League of Legends, quite possibly the biggest game in the world, and you don't call it League of Legends. That there's nothing in the name that even points to it being League of Legends. You call it 2XKO. Not only does it not have League in the title, nowhere, not even in the subtitle, but 2XKO is such an ugly name that right off the bat people are clowning it for that. Now that might seem like a very minor thing, but it's something that started this snowball effect of bad press around 2XKO. It was very obvious from early on that 2XKO was in big trouble when they started laying off people. Now if you're doing a live service game and very early on in the game's lifespan you're laying tons of people off, it doesn't really fill people with much hope. So where people might not have had concrete proof that the game was going to go down, it was pointing in that direction. It wasn't pointing in a positive direction, obviously. But like I said, it sucks because imagine working on something for 10 years. Now, this is one of the big negative points, but I'll just point this out first. Working on something for 10 years and it doesn't even make 10 months. Anime arena fighters have lasted longer than this game. The Boruto Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connection game just received an update. It has outlasted this game, and that game was, I mean, to put it nicely, not very good. Launched absolutely horribly. But I remember back in like 2015, 2016, they announced this game and it took 10 years to come out. It dies in 10 months and the game launched with 11 characters, like 10, 11 characters. What were you doing for 10 years? Like, again, I don't mean this offensively, but what were you doing for 10 years? 10, 11 characters in 10 years. League of Legends. The parent company must have not wanted this game to come out. There must have been something going on behind the scenes that was making it impossible to get this game over the finish line. Because even when it came out, they botched the opening. It was one of the most, if not the most disastrous launch for a fighting game of the modern era. Far worse than Avatar. Far worse than the arena fighter games. Worse than Marvel Token, if you can believe it. Sad. Between Multiverses, Fantasy Strike and 2XKO, I would very much like studios to stop trying to make free-to-play fighting games. It's too niche for that. Now, I remember when Dell put this up, he got pushback. A lot of people saying, oh, I being a negative Nancy. I said this on my podcast as well. Tom Brady said it. But this is not a good model for fighting games. Now, in the Tom Brady video, which I highly recommend you guys go back and watch now because everything that he spoke about came to fruition, he basically said in layman's terms, the FGC is too broke to support a live service model, and this game didn't do enough to break out into the mainstream, so it was really banking on the FGC. You would have thought with the League of Legends name that loads of people outside of the fighting game community was playing it. But my girlfriend, for example, is a League of Legends player. She knows the characters from back to front. She's been playing that game for a long time. When she saw 2XKO, she was like, oh, okay, I'll try it out. She tried it out once. She was like, yeah, I'm just going to go play League. And that is what I said when 2XKO was coming out. This game is going to appeal to the FGC, and therefore it is going to die. If you are not a Tekken, a Street Fighter, a Mortal Kombat, a Guilty Gear, or maybe a Marvel vs game, you are going to have a tough time succeeding in this scene. You have to break out of the mold. You have to get away from the hardcore. You have to appeal to the casual. And here we are. Everybody that I know that plays League of Legends does not play this game, does not like this game, or doesn't even know it exists because it's called 2XKO. That name is a disaster. So in the article here, it says 2XKO's active development will conclude at the end of 2026. Over the last few months, we've been monitoring 2XKO's trajectory closely, and what we've seen is painting a clear, consistent picture. While a lot of you jumped in to try the game, and there's an incredible community that plays every day, we haven't seen enough players stick with the game to get to a path towards sustainability. This is exactly what I was talking about just now. Every single person that I know that plays League that was aware of this game tried it out and said, oh, I'm good, I'm going back to League. Because it obviously plays nothing like League. They're very much in love with that game. A fighting game is not going to do it for them. A fighting game is going to appeal to people like me. And the characters in this game do not appeal to people like me. The way the game was designed was not appealing to me, and clearly it wasn't appealing to enough people. A lot of people tried it out because it was free to play. Of course people are going to try a free to play game, but it came out in a disastrous state. Wasn't, like, at least from my perspective, it wasn't very fun to play. I did not have a good time on it. And one of the things that really bugged me about this game as a spectator is that it was awful to watch. It went on for too long. You've got 2 characters, 2 life bars, and 2 rounds. It was too much. I would literally sit there watching a tournament waiting for 2XKO to finish and feel like I've been here all my life. Like, it just went on for too long. So from a gameplay perspective, I wasn't really into it. Obviously, I know there's people that are, so I'm not shitting on them. But as a spectator, it was awful to watch. Now, the other thing here is that, like I said, free-to-play models don't work in the FGC. I don't think that people should look at Marvel Rivals or League of Legends and think that's going to translate. It's not going to translate. What's going to happen is they're going to see a game that's free to play, and if they don't need to put anything in, they're not going to, because you've already given them all of the characters. It's not the same culture as what you would get in League of Legends. Once I have the game, I don't care about your costumes. I can play it for free. Maybe down the line, years down the line, when I've really invested, learnt my tech, felt confident in the game, then I might buy a costume. But when the game's very early on with how difficult it is to get into fighting games and learn them, even though they tried to make this one easy, it still got pretty complicated apparently. Asking fighting game players to move in the same sort of fashion as League players was a big ask. Servers will remain on beyond 2026, and 2XK will be playable on all platforms. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this paragraph because I don't think people are really paying attention to what is being said here. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Through the rest of 2026, we'll be introducing content, feature improvements, and 2 new champions, with the intent to deliver our final bug fix patch in December of this year. After that, servers will remain on to support online play. Offline players unaffected will give advance notice if any of that changes. The last sentence of that is very important here. I think people are overlooking it. You might think that I'm dooming here or that I'm reaching, but I don't think anybody thought this game was going to die this. Actually, that's a lie. We kind of saw the writing on the wall, but a lot of people seem surprised that they pulled the plug this early. We'll give you advance notice if any of that changes. I promise you guys now. I promise you now. This game will not be online in 2028. I'd be surprised. I bet that Riot pulls the plug. I don't think the parent company likes this game. I think they put that there just to prep people, and I think people are overlooking it because I watched all the reaction videos to this. I wanted to see how the 2XKO community was feeling, and I feel bad for them. I do. This is not an opportunity for me to dunk on them. I don't like seeing fighting games go down in flames. It's bad for all of us, because for people that are on the outside looking in, they're going, I'm not going to turn my franchise into a fighting game. This shit sucks over there. So I just see this as a net negative for the FGC and fighting games in general. I am not in support or co-signing anyone that is pointing the fingers. Quite honestly, I find that a little bit weird. Our goal now is to do right by the players who have invested in us so far and want to continue playing 2XKO, as well as the rioters who have poured everything into delivering on this stream. The rest of this post goes into detail on how we got here, what's changed, and what's still to come. Now, I thought this article was really good. It goes into why the game lost a lot of momentum, and I agree with the first point right off the bat. The fighting game community is historically a niche market with high barriers to entry. Unlike Valorant, which exploded into the shooter genre, 2XKO entered a space dominated by established franchises like Street Fighter, Tekken, and Guilty Gear. And this is what I was saying before. If you're coming into this space and you're trying out new models, you better make sure you got some money in the bank, because it is super risky down here in fighting games. This is not Call of Duty. This is not Counter-Strike. This is not World of Warcraft. Fighting games are a niche, and some of them are a niche in a niche. You are gambling with your money. And as soon as they said this game is going to be free to play and it's going to follow a very similar business model to League of Legends, I know people said I was dooming, but I said right off the bat, this game is screwed. I'm telling you now, it's screwed, and here we are 8 months later. High complexity. Despite Riot's efforts to simplify controls with the Pulse auto combo system, the 2v2 tag team mechanics add significant complexity. Players must learn 2 characters, manage assist cooldowns, and execute team combos. One analysis noted that the game attracted hardcore players, but the high difficulty discouraged newcomers. Now, this is something that I can speak to as somebody that played Tekken Tag 2 for thousands of hours, or over 1,000 hours. Tekken Tag 2 is, I think, the most difficult Tekken game to play. It requires you to learn 2 characters, much like 2XKO. In Tekken's case, even though this game, in my opinion, was fantastic, on a music standpoint, where I think 2XKO failed as well, the music in this game is not impressive. The graphics of the game at the time was very good, the stages were very good, and the roster was huge. This game required you to learn 2 characters. Both characters have 100 moves each, and then you're required to deal with all sorts of teams. The complexity was off the wall, and it drove people away. Till this day, people always ask me, why did Tekken Tag 2 fail? Every time I see this game, it looks fantastic, and that's because it is genuinely a great game. It's a nutty game, don't get me wrong. A lot of people think of it as the Marvel of the Tekken series, but it was a great game, but it was so difficult to play. Now, 2XKO is not as difficult, obviously. It's a very simplified version of what I'm talking about, but 2 characters, and then your most exciting mode is duo, so you also have to sync up with another person, which is something that Tag 2 had as well. It's a no-brainer for a lot of people. Like, they're just not interested. And it's sad because duos look like the best part of this game. Monetization mismatch. Riot's cosmetic-focused revenue model faced resistance from the FGC. Players balked at skin prices ranging from $20 to $100, with bundle-only purchases drawing particular criticism. As one player noted on Reddit, "Even when I see a costume I like, I don't buy it because anyone seeing me using it will know how much I paid." Unlike League of Legends, fighting games lack the same skin collecting culture. This is what I was trying to explain to people many moons ago, and they were just saying stop being a doomer. And again, in the video that I highly recommend you listening to, where some people were dunking on Tom Brady, he was absolutely spot on. Fighting game players are not going to invest in their games, generally speaking, the way League of Legends players are going to. And I know that I have some developers watching my videos, and some of them message me about fighting games sometimes. If there's one thing that I know, is that there's not a lot of money in the FGC, and that goes from a tournament standpoint or just what's in people's pockets. They're not willing to depart their money the way League players are. That culture does not exist over here. What they will depart with is if you give them characters. Like in Tekken and Street Fighter, they release characters. In Fatal Fury, they release characters. People buy them. But expensive costumes, it ain't gonna happen. I don't personally care if there's a costume that comes out and it's $20 and I really want it. I don't care if Joe Schmo down the road thinks that I'm a loser because I paid for it, as long as I'm happy. But unfortunately, because of the way the culture is set up, there is like you got to maintain your rep or whatever, that where people won't buy it. And I've actually heard people saying this before. I'm not buying that because they're going to know how much I paid and I don't want to get clowned. And as you've seen by FGC Twitter, you get clowned for everything. Now, some of the positives from 2XKO, one of the major positives that I saw is that 2XKO had an amazing netcode. It really did have an amazing netcode. I never heard of people really saying that there was issues with the game in terms of playing with people. If I played with somebody in America, I always heard the things were really good. So it's not all doom and gloom when it comes to this game. There are good takeaways from it. And netcode is a really important thing in fighting games. So it's sad that the game went down having something that was apparently working squeaky clean. I mean, do you know what? If your initial reaction is to clown this, I get it. But if this guy created memories and they're attached to this franchise and it's near and dear to him, who am I to tell him don't get a tattoo? Who am I? Who am I to tell him not to? I know people on Twitter are going to roast him for this. I don't even need to look at the comment section. I know he's going to get roasted for that, but who am I? And my initial reaction upon seeing this was like, what the bro? Generational fumble. But do you know what? If he is actually happy and he's not just saying this to save face, then more power to you, bro. That is, on first glance, tragic, but if you're happy, you're happy. Hungrybox had one of... This is not a hot take. This is a dumb take. I'm going to read it out to you guys, and I'm going to play Yaya's video because I think that it perfectly sums it up. Potentially hot take incoming, but I don't care. I sincerely believe that if Riot had gone forward with the original plan of their platform fighter pool party and gone a Melee-esque route, that game would be all over everyone's timelines even today. FGC saturation is a real thing, and there's legit maybe only 4 relevant platform fighters played by a large number of people, dominated of course by Smash. Famously, Riot saw what happened to Multiverses and they got spooked. I want to remind everyone that Multiverses at one point had over 150,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is absolutely mind-boggling to think about for a platform fighter. But the failure of Multiverses was due to a strange developer decision, such as their decision to keep the game extremely floaty and slow after a 2-year hiatus. I don't think this is a mistake Riot would have made, especially after seeing the good polish that 2XKO has. I truly hope they give Pool Party one last good attempt because it really could have been the one. Now before I play Yaya's video, I've got to say this is a whole bunch of gobbledygook if I've ever seen it. I mean, I watched Diafoam's video because I know that he was really pushing 2XKO and he seemed to really love the game. So I thought, let me see what Diafoam is saying. And one of the things that he cited was that this game did not have a direction. At one point, they would say, oh, the game's going in this direction, I'm going to decrease the combos. And then the game gets more combos and longer combos. And I saw people saying that the game was in development for 10 years and then they got feedback from people on Twitter and they were like, okay, cool, the next version you guys play are going to be completely different. And it's like, you lacked vision. I know people on Twitter can be very opinionated, myself included, but if you truly have a vision for the game, then you're not just going to scrap everything that you did for 10 years and be like, okay, we're going in this direction now. The game lacked focus and people lost faith in the development team. They were doing balance changes and they were falling behind, so by the time that they would get to another balance change, there was already another character people were moaning about and they just couldn't keep up. It was a nightmare across the board, and this is coming from somebody who still plays the game, but the developers have not even told us that they're not supporting it anymore. We're just in limbo. Over in Rebirth of Souls, we have no clue what is going on. I assume the developers just went on vacation and they forgot to log into their Twitter account. At least you guys got something on 2XKO. At least you know December's the cutoff point. Over in Bleach, we're fucking swinging our swords. Pause. Wondering if anything is going to come from it.
No, Hungrybox. A Smash League of Legends game still wouldn't have cooked in the same way of 2XKO or better. It's a dumb take. Let me explain why. Most Smash players only want to play Smash. They only showing up for Smash Brothers. They can make Melee adjacent games or Ultimate adjacent games, Project M like games, but it all comes down to them wanting to only play Smash Brothers. I'm not even trying to slander. Walk with me here. Hear me out. Walk with me here. Smash people are like iPhone users, and I love iPhone myself personally. But even if there's better options, they already like their ecosystem. Why play a Smash-like for League of Legends or any other game? I'm willing to do that, but not majority of Smash fans when you have Smash Bros all the way from 64 that people still play in comp, all the way to Ultimate, Project M, Brawl even, Melee, very accessible on PC with a mod. They're not going to play a League of Legends platform fighter that plays like Melee, because Smash fans are going to go with the characters that have a longer history than League. So they're not going to play it. They're just going to go play Smash Bros. And more importantly, like y'all, with Melee. They just want to play Melee, and that's perfectly fine with it.
There's not really much else that needs to be said. I don't know why Hungrybox said that. Given the history of Melee players, the idea that they would leave Melee and go over to 2XKO, the platform fighter, absolutely absurd. That wouldn't have happened. I don't know why he didn't think that tweet over before he posted it, but here we are. Now, the other thing here is that people are they're feeling a type of way towards Riot and the 2XKO team, because it's like, you didn't really understand what you were getting yourself into. People really invested in this. I know people have invested hours into this game. I mean, I know Diaphone put up a tweet saying that he left his job to play this game. Now, I knew that when I read that, it was like tongue-in-cheek. It wasn't being serious. People started cooking him in the comment section saying, you really left your job for that? Obviously, it was partially a joke. But people really invested their time into this, and you pulled the plug after 8 months. Now, it's not like this company hasn't got the money to continue to fund this game. This is coming from the people that make League of Legends. They have the money. I guess the parent company looked at this and just thought, it's not worth our investment. We're not going to get anything out of it. Fighting games take a little while to simmer. They're not like these other games that just explode onto the scene. And I think this is true for most fighting games. Unless you're a Tekken, Street Fighter, or Mortal Kombat, it takes time. Even Guilty Gear took a bit of time to get where it is today. So I think the expectation is that there was going to be more support for the game so that it can build a community and they can start to create a culture that is similar to League of Legends. But even that was a long shot. I think this game would have been better off if it was just released like a normal fighting game with a full roster, enough characters for a tag fighter, 10 to 11 characters, however many it was. That's diabolical in my opinion. But here we are. At the end of the day, I don't think this is a good look for fighting games. I'm not happy that the game has gone down in flames. I'm also not surprised though. I'm not surprised. I think free-to-play models in the FGC is like, you know, you're just pissing in the dark at that point. So it sucks for all the players that really wants to go out there and play this game competitively and were spending hours playing the game. And it sucks for fighting games in general, because all it tells other people that are outside of the fighting game sphere that were thinking of turning their franchise into a fighting game is, we don't want to enter this space because League of Legends couldn't even survive. And don't get it twisted, if Marvel did this, Marvel wouldn't survive either. Don't look at Marvel rivals and think that they can come over to fighting games and do the same thing. It just doesn't work the same way. It's better to go with the traditional model and try to build from that, not go with these brand new models where you're doing free to play and you're trying to replicate what you've got over in MOBAs or whatever. But I hope the team finds work. I hope that everybody comes out of this. I don't know. It's just a bad situation. There's not really much to say that you haven't heard already. It's just something that we saw coming a mile away, and we're here now. And I'm looking at some of the other fighting games like Avatar and Invincibles, and I'm just wondering who's on the chopping block next. I hope it doesn't happen. But we have had some shoddy releases recently. Shoddy releases. As for me, over in the 3D space, like I said in the last time you guys saw me, I'm hedging my bets on Virtua Fighter. I'm hedging my bets on the fact that that game is going to learn from all of these mistakes that it's seeing before it, and it's not going to make them. Because if Virtua Fighter goes down, mate, I don't know. Because for as much as I like Tokon, and as much as I don't want to see Tekken doing bad, the needle is not being moved by anything other than Street Fighter 6 right now. It's just not. That's just the reality of it. They botched Tokon's release on PC, and it's such a shame. And you can see through player numbers and general sentiments that it hurt the game. It hurt the game quite badly, because you've still got modders making variations of the game that run better than the actual game on PC. And then you've got Tekken, which is like, it's just sort of trodden along. You know, we'll see how Tekken does when Yujiro gets here. But yeah, that's it guys. It's another day in FGC land, another big L. Project L, quite the fitting name, but we'll leave it there. I'll catch you guys very soon. Take care and peace.
Shutdown.